Hey guys, welcome back to Mini Urban Farm, a channel about gardening and homesteading in the suburbs. This is our March garden tour and there is so much stuff going on. I can't wait to show you guys, mainly because this garden finally is actually producing tomatoes, which is one of my favorite things to grow, and I will be ripping everything up by the time April comes around. So let's jump right into it and I will show you what has been going on in the garden. Spring is definitely one of my favorite times of the year for gardening. Look at how pretty everything is. Everything is so in abundance and there's actually stuff growing. This is actually last season's garden, so the garden I planted out in fall of 2021, and all of this will actually be ripped up pretty soon, but we actually have some fruit growing and we have some flowers for things that have now gone to seed since the weather has warmed up. So I'll start on this side over here for a change. Oh, and before I forget, in addition to everything growing here, I also have my little seed starting table with all my red solo cups and everything else. So after everything, I'll walk you guys over there and show you what has been going on as far as seed starting. Alright, so on this side of the bed, this is where I originally had all my green beans in this kind of front section here, but I have since ripped those up, so that's why there's no green beans here. However, there are tons of tomatoes, and so we finally have tomatoes. I think the reason that these took forever to grow is because maybe they weren't getting enough sun, or because I didn't fertilize them properly. I have since bought my normal fertilizer, which I couldn't find at the beginning of this season or the past season, but since then we have tons of tomatoes, and I'm actually going to come in here and harvest some for dinner. These are the pink, I think they're pink bumblebee tomatoes, but look how cute they are. Alright, so I have my harvest basket here, and I'm gonna take just a few of these tomatoes off of this. We have a whole bunch of them actually, and I did kind of let them go a little bit longer than I usually would have because I wanted to show you guys, and it's been like pouring rain out for the last couple days, and then tonight is going to be freezing. So before these freeze, I am going to get these off of the vine. And look how cute these are. These come out all in one little cluster over here. So cute. Alright, so we got a pretty good amount in here in this basket. I mean, finally we actually have tomatoes. I think a good reason why, or not a good reason, but I think the main reason that I have yet to get tons of tomatoes off of this, and it's already been a couple months, this is the first actual harvest of tomatoes I'm actually getting. I think the main reason is because I didn't fertilize them the way that I normally do. I couldn't find the blood and bone meal fertilizer that I use, so it took a little bit of time, and I added like a slow fertilizer instead, and I don't think that it really did the plants justice. They had a lot of growth as far as green, but not really any of the fruit. So finally we got some, and then next season I will go back to my normal fertilizer. You can see a lot of this is really good green growth. I've applied maybe one or two applications of neem oil at the base of the plant. I have an entire video of how I do that instead of like actually spraying the roots, spraying the leaves. Instead of spraying the leaves, I kind of just pour it in at the base of that. I will leave that in the description if you want to watch that video. But also a lot of this is dead, and I think it has a lot to do with the cold. It has been back and forth between like 80-degree weather and then 20-degree weather, so I think that these are gonna go. I'm not a huge fan of these tomatoes. I love them. I like them for snacking, but I like my normal grape tomatoes, so I don't know if I'll be planting these out next season. I do have some extras, and I'll try to seed save. That's one of my goals for this year, to seed save as much as I possibly can, so I'll definitely try to seed save, but as far as actually planting them out, we'll see. And then I also have tons of parsley here, which I think has been a main contributor to why these tomatoes do not have tons of pests. I think this is cold damage, but we haven't actually gotten too many pests between the applications of neem oil and the companion planting. Every time I plant out these like this type of parsley, or actually any type of parsley at the base of my tomatoes, it seems to ward off pests quite a bit. And we actually still have some pretty little flowers coming out, even behind the trellis here, but we'll see. I think these are going to come up pretty soon so that I can put in all the rest of my little tomato seedlings. The kale I will definitely be harvesting. We have been harvesting from this a ton. You can tell like kale tends to grow upwards, so you see all the cuts in here, and then it kind of just grows from the top. But I will be harvesting the rest of this. You can tell something is maybe getting to this a little bit, and I think it has to do with the same thing that ate every single one of my radish babies that were in here. You can see I did not get to enjoy any radishes. I didn't pull them up or anything. They're just gone. Something came in here, and I think it was probably a slug or something like a caterpillar, although I haven't seen anything. It is the same thing that has been eating my Swiss chard and also my mustard on the other side of the garden, but I haven't seen anything. Usually if it's cutworms or caterpillars, I can see them on the bottom of the plants, and I haven't seen anything like that so far. But there are holes, so definitely something is getting to them. This is my favorite type of kale I have ever grown. This is the Blue Dazzling kale. If you're looking for a good variety, this one I have grown now I think 1 or 2 seasons, and it seems to be pretty pest resistant so far. No aphids or anything on it that I can tell, and it tastes amazing. So definitely that is one of my favorites. As far as Swiss chard goes, I love growing Swiss chard. I like how it looks. I don't mind the taste for salads and stuff, but I think this is one of the things I might not be planting out next year, so I can plant out actual like beans and tomatoes and stuff like that. Over here, all of these beautiful little flowers. Before I say it, tell me in the description below if you can tell what these flowers are. So I'll give you a minute to do that. But these are actually arugula flowers. I love the way that they look. I always let my arugula go to seed. And I was hoping that this year I'd be able to seed save some of my arugula, but I don't know if that's going to happen. I'm waiting for these pods to dry out before I rip them up, but seeing as I'm going to go on honeymoon next week and we'll be gone for a little bit, I think I might leave these until then, but I'm not sure. The way that you harvest arugula, or seed save arugula, is these tiny little pods. Those dry out, and those are where the seeds are. So you have to wait until those dry out, essentially, to harvest the seeds. But this is my little arugula garden, and I absolutely love coming out here and seeing all of these flowers. And then moving along, my row of parsley. So basically, all of this is like spilling out of the beds. You can tell like this is just completely gone crazy now. And then back here we have carrots, which are also being overrun by the parsley. I'm not sure how many carrots we're gonna get because the parsley just keeps like kind of encroaching on their space, but we do have some carrots. Again, you know, it's been crazy this season, so these by now, we're in mid-March, these by now would have been much larger. It was really hot for a while, so I kind of waited to plant them out, so they're still pretty small, but I don't know, maybe I'll wait a little bit longer. And then you see some parsley over here as well. This was my chamomile from the beginning of the season, which kind of just grew back as it wanted to, so I've kind of let some of them, but I'll probably end up removing that because I don't want to have to wait for it. And then I will say there's like this ant pile here, I don't know if you can see it, but starting here and on this little area, all of that is a red ant pile. So I'm not going to get near it because I am allergic actually to red ants. But what I'm going to do before I plant out everything else, I'm going to take some very hot boiling water and just continuously pour it in to get rid of those ants. And then on the other side of that ant pile, we have our mustard. And I really wanted this to go to seed. I have not seen it bolting yet. Definitely something is kind of taking bites out of it, but this is actually huge. My hand is like half the size of some of these leaves, and I actually love the taste of this, so I'll continue to grow this definitely for my salad greens. And behind it we have a whole bunch of red tomatoes, and these are just a great cherry tomato. And I love the taste of these. They taste like miniature Roma tomatoes, and they're amazing taste tomatoes. So I'll probably end up planting these out again sometime in the future. If not this season, then in one of our upcoming seasons. But we have a whole bunch of them. And this is one that I have actually harvested from just because I wanted to taste them. I never tasted them before, and I actually really like the taste. So far, they're doing pretty good, but they are not getting as much sun. In this little corner over here, you can see like it's kind of guarded right next to the compost pile by the fence, so they don't get tons of shade, or sorry, they don't get tons of sun, which is why the mustard is doing really well because it loves shade. And also I think I did not give them as much space on the trellis because they are kind of coming this way, and I have been pruning them, but they did make their way onto the floor, and they have grown some little tomatoes in here as well. So we'll see. But I'm gonna come in here and harvest all of these also. Alright, so over here in my mini greenhouse, it is pretty hot outside today, so I kind of just open this up really quick. It's already in the 80s over here. Originally, this was up here in like the 110 degrees, so I'm giving them some air because it did get pretty hot earlier. Most of my things are already coming up. You can see my yellow squash on this side. My zucchini are the taller ones on this side. So the yellow squash, some of them are still coming up. But I kind of just have them in here. I didn't start too many of these just because I don't think we're gonna have space for this. I also have some pigeon peas, which will go into the food forest at some point in time. I'm waiting just because we don't have a fence out there for right now, so I don't want the deer to just completely eat them. And then down here we have a whole bunch of stuff. So this is lemon cucumbers, and that one actually died. So this is a great reason as to why you should always start from seed in containers and transplant out if you can, because if I had put this seed in the garden, it might not have made it, versus this one right next to it, or even the ones over here behind it. All of these are lemon cucumbers, and now I can pick the absolute best ones to put in my garden. So I always try to plant out from seed when I can. That's a big reason as to why I didn't have as much in my garden this season, because I didn't start anything ahead of time. So all of these are lemon cucumbers. I have back here, these are all of my tomatoes. So I have some Roma tomatoes, I have some cherry tomatoes. Milo decided he's gonna roll around and eat some of the grass, so he's entertaining himself. And then over here actually I have, which I'm very excited about, my moringa. So I have, I think, 2 or 3 of these already that are pretty tall. These are going to go in the food forest for sure, and I will be covering these so that the deer do not get them. But I'm really excited. They look really healthy, so this is something I cannot wait to plant out. And these other 2 haven't even come up yet, so I'm kind of wondering why those haven't sprouted. In the back there I have my cherry tomatoes, and then my Roma tomatoes in the middle. And then down here I finally have some leaves on my chaya, so that I'm really excited about. This one did not actually take. I think it didn't grow roots and I think it died, but hopefully I'll be able to get this one a pretty good size and take some cuttings from that. And then I have over here lemon balm, which finally sprouted. Usually herbs take much longer to sprout. This is doing pretty well. My purple basil though, basil tends to grow pretty fast. My purple basil has like that purplish green color. You can see some are green, but for the most part they're that purple color. And basil really likes the heat, so you can see this little cup of purple basil and that one back there. That's kind of like what's doing the best as far as herbs go. This is something else. These were papaya that I originally planted out, but this does not look like papaya. I think there might be some weeds mixed in here. I'm not really sure what papaya looks like, so I think that's not it. I might end up just having weeds in this cup. But I also have back here, we have agastache, I think it's called. It's like a tea plant with like citrusy orange flowers that are really pretty. So that one is going in the food forest once I separate them out. And then for all of these, oh, and the same thing with my mint plants. Definitely excited for this. This is mountain mint, and I'm very fond of mint tea. So you can tell they're like tiny little seedlings in here, but they are growing pretty well. And for all of these, including my other tray of seedlings, I am bottom watering. So I just come in here instead of top watering each individual cup. I come in here, and these have no drainage holes, as you can see, so I put water in here, and then they absorb them from the bottom, saving me time and saving me a lot of energy, because this is much easier than having to come and individually water all the cups. Now, as far as my tomatoes come, this is my Roma tomatoes. They already have their true leaves. Some of them have multiple sets of true leaves already. So in the next couple of days, I am going to have to separate them out so that when we are gone on honeymoon, they can continue growing. They are a little bit leggy just because the sun has gone away and reappeared and gone away and reappeared a couple times now, but you can tell they are growing, so I'll take leggy tomatoes over no tomatoes any day. And then over here on my seed starting table, I have some, I think it is, yeah, Okinawa spinach that did not like the cold. You can tell some of it's really crispy, but it's still alive. So I have it over here being bottom watered as well. And I think these are actually papayas. I don't think the other one's a papaya because this actually looks like more of what I'm used to seeing. But I think I'm gonna let these go because there's 1, 2, 3, and 4 of them, I think, that look pretty much the same. Some of them didn't make it, like you can see, but these ones look the same. I think the other ones in the greenhouse look more like weeds, but these are being bottom watered as well. They're not like on my priority list, I guess you would say. That's why they're not like really covered, but I will be adding everything into the greenhouse once it is more established. All right, and then the last thing over here is our worm bin. Now you can see we have a pretty good pile of worm castings. Most of the worms have actually vacated this space because I ended up adding in a second bin. So originally it was just this bin. I added in a second bin with bedding and with food underneath. So the worms are kind of traveling down through the first layer into the second, from the second layer now into the first layer, and that way I can grab my castings and make like a worm tea out of them. I'll give it another couple of days because I did still see some worms in here. As you can see, we still got some movement, but it's definitely way less than it was a couple of days ago when I started encouraging them to transfer over. So I'll let that sit, and then at the end of those couple of days more, I will brew my worm tea from my worm castings. All right, so I have my harvest of tomatoes. I am fairly happy with this harvest, even though I haven't gotten tons of tomatoes off these plants. I have been waiting for them for a while, so I'm excited to finally be able to make some tacos tonight with our tomatoes, and maybe just add them into salads. It's really not enough to do anything else with them, but maybe I'll do some tomato confit with some remaining, just a jar or so. Thanks so much for watching. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.